You are listening to a very special episode of the Your Next Move podcast. This was a group coaching call inside of the Visibility Shift community. Enjoy. I am very excited to have a special guest today on the TVS coaching call. So, when I created the Visibility Shift, I knew that there are a lot of people who are in corporate jobs who are balancing working in a job, but wanting to speak and get on stages and seeing like, how does this like tangibly even happen? How are you able to do both? I know I've shared my story, but I always like to bring other folks in who are doing something similar. So when I was thinking of guests to bring in to speak with you, the first person I thought of was Jasmine Garrett. So we are just going to have a candid conversation. I'm going to open it up to the group to ask questions as well. Feel free to ask in the chat and I will bring them forward during the conversation, or at the end, you can just ask her yourself directly. But I would love to just ask Jasmine, could you introduce yourself briefly? I'd love for everyone
Yeah,
to get to know you.
absolutely. Hi, everybody. So Jasmine, as she mentioned, Jasmine Garrett. I'm based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I am a account director for Adobe at the current moment. So I am in sales, and then I'm also in National Sales Network, very big in the National Sales Network community. I'm the president of the South Florida chapter. Sales is something that I kind of accidentally got into, and now we're 10 years later. And then also to been really trying to expand my brand. I think I've been always pretty good with personal branding, but really trying to understand the monetization of my brand. And when it comes to speaking, really being a thought leader and putting myself in spaces that uplift my community, as well as expand the reach of our community as well, and really having more people, especially that look like us, speaking in rooms and talking through, whether it's corporate infrastructures or strategies or executive presence or confidence, and really being able to make a lane for us. So that's been my new world and trying to really navigate what that looks like and how to manage both, to say
Yes,
the least.
indeed. And I know, I believe we met during your time at Granger. So that
Yes,
was
yes,
that was quite a few jobs ago, quite a few.
yes.
So can you talk to everybody a little bit about what made you start public speaking and why you found like, how did you find it? Were you just interested? Like what happened? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so it kind of came to my doorstep a little bit. And then I really realized how much I liked it. I think I want to say it was more around, so naturally I would public speak, but more internal, right? Like more within the company I worked for, or within any extracurriculars, et cetera, but never it's like public facing. And while working at Salesforce, I got tapped on and was like, hey, we were noted that you may be somebody that may be good to represent us and speak on this virtual panel, et cetera. And so I was just like, oh, okay, I guess, like, sure, and did that. One, it was amazing. It really enlightened something in me. I do have a performing arts background. I was a child actor, did Broadway, like all those things when I was a kid. And so it really kind of like reignited that, like being on stage, that presence, being able to connect with others in different ways, having some form of an impact outside of like my day to day. And it really had me like, okay, maybe this is something that I should put a little bit more effort into. But it took a while before I really bet on myself to do that. Every other time I spoke, it was again like a, hey, we saw you did this. Can you do this for us again? And it was very company forward. Will you speak at this conference on behalf of us? Will you speak at this meeting on behalf of us? And then slowly but surely, I started to kind of bet on myself. Like maybe I should start putting myself out there and applying for things and really kind of putting myself in rooms to where like even an SN scale or other organizations are thinking to tap me by seeing, maybe what I'm doing on LinkedIn or having alignment to my speaker, materials and so on and so forth. And so it kind of started to catapult there. And then once my brain had room to say, okay, do I really want to try to monetize this? Like, how do I put my best foot forward to do that? That's when I really started to start even talking to Kim, like trying to figure out, okay, where do I start to really be able to make this, a side thing to potentially maybe be my main thing in the future, but like where do I really start? And that's kind of how it all evolved.
So I'd love to pivot and ask, when did you decide to start charging for your speaking engagements? Because I think for folks, when you are coming from a corporate background where you're being
Hmm.
asked, like, oh, could you speak at this conference? Could you
Hmm.
moderate at this panel in a house? You're used to doing it for free.
Right, right,
When
right.
did the moment happen where you're like, "Oh, no, like, I need to make some cash money for this?"
Oh, I would say I think it was when I spoke and it was free, but and I'm still transparently in the balance of like, how
Of
do I
course.
transition yeah, into that? But it was when I spoke at this huge conference here in South Florida. It's called Black Professionals Network Conference. And just the scale of it and the impact I made and the connections and the like everything that happened afterwards, it was like, okay, I might be missing out on something. Like, I know these people up here, and I might be the only person up here that's one spoke for free, but two, like the the ask and the request coming after that, like I didn't even know how to handle it. And it was like, okay, I should be doing something differently here because this could definitely be a moneymaker. So how do I pivot to that, but also still be authentically like myself and staying true to like me and who I am, but still just kind of know my value and my worth. And so that's kind of where I'm at now and just really understanding like what that looks like and what is that response to? Like someone reaches out to me assuming, "Hey, Jasmine, can you speak at this free?" Like, what is my response to that? Like, "Yeah," or is it like, "Well, like this is what I charge," or, et cetera. So really trying to find that grounding because I definitely know it's something that I should be doing and taking advantage of. And of course, every different scenario will be different, but definitely wanting to be more forward with that.
Yeah, I think that with speaking, when most people start speaking in the way that you have and the way that I have, so my journey to
Mhm.
speaking is very similar in that I was doing all the things in the company and then I was like, "Oh, wait, I could start doing this for myself or I could pitch myself or I want this type of engagement." A lot
Mhm.
of that speaking is all free. So it puts
Yeah.
you in this lane of, "Oh, I just do this for free. I don't do it for money. I do it to build my brand. I do it to get promoted.
Mhm.
I do it for the prestige." And I think
Yeah.
Kimberly's asked a question in the chat. What were some of the asks that came afterward when you thought, "Ooh, yeah, I need to start charging some money for this"? What were some of those
Yeah.
asks?
One of the asks was not even like, "Can you speak at this?" It was like, "Can you do like a workshop, like
Mm,
multiple days with my team? Can you come and train, best sales practices here? Can you?" So it was different from like ask I've gotten in the past where it was more
mhm,
like, "Hey Jazz, can you hop on this panel, for us? Can you jump on this webinar, 30 minutes, things of that nature, or can you, or if it's a nonprofit, of course, like not even thinking of charging there, but like if it's a nonprofit and they're like, hey, can you just jump on our weekly call and just talk about your brand for 20 minutes? Like those were more of my asks, right? Or they were company forward. My company saying, can you do this on our behalf? So for someone to say, hey, can you come in and like teach, like not just share your perspective on this panel, but come in and actually teach and like we care about your thoughts and we think our team will benefit from that was like, oh, okay. One, time management. How do I work through that? I don't even have a course. Like what does that look like?
mhm.
And so the brain really started to just spin because it's like, okay, I of course I see value in myself, but for someone to want me and want to bet on me to come do something for them at their establishment or at their separate company and not just an organization that is having a panel or having an event was a different caliber of ask I had before that had me really thinking about like, okay, I need to pivot and really start thinking how to start building assets and building a brand that somebody does want to pay for or does see whatever cost I come up with for whatever engagement makes sense to them.
No, I think that's a really great point. I think in the visibility shift, one of the things we get really clear on is what I call like the X factor, like what is your thing? Because I think when you are asked to be on stage, there is one point of like, I'm just going to show up as me. Like they just want me. They want me to like tell a story.
Right.
But when
Mhm.
people start to say, no, I want you to teach this, help us with, like,
Mhm.
I need you right here to come over here and do this thing. I'm so happy that you realized that was a monetizable skill because if you see value in me coming after, like, you want more after this, yes, that needs to be charged for. And I think
Right.
conference speaking is something that's different. I think when you're speaking at conferences, 99.9% of the time, all that is free.
Mhm.
Unless you are a keynote, most conferences are not paying their speakers
It's just the
to
perks
be
that
there.
come with it.
It's just the
Yeah.
perks. It's meeting the
Mhm.
people, it's getting the next engagement. In this group, we just read the referable speaker together and we talked about how
Mhm.
um when you every moment is a time to like get the leads. Get the
Mhm.
leads
Mhm.
for the next, get referred for the next. And I think that's why I love conference speaking because it opens you
Mhm.
up to people who need you to come in house. Now,
Yeah.
something again, I know what I did, but I want you to share with the group what you did. Kelly just
Mhm.
asked, how do you balance your speaking career with your daytime job from a timing perspective? I was crazy, and I don't always recommend that to folks. So I would love to hear what you do. Were you crazy like me, or do you have like a way that you maneuver it?
I probably was crazy like you, depending on what your crazy was. So the benefit is that I'm remote. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the remote life, and luckily been in situations and leadership to where like I'm not micromanaged. So it's very much like this. Like this was perfect. It was at lunchtime, blocked my calendar off. And then just while I was on the call with my boss, I was just like, okay, I gotta get off. Like
I got something else after
that's
this.
what I gotta do.
Sorry.
But right. But yeah, I think me in general though, I'm very good with time management. Like me scheduling, like all that stuff is normally really good. It did get tough though when it was in person things. Like that's where it did get a little shaky. Okay, how do I maneuver this? Or it's end of fiscal or end of quarter. Like I can't take off. Like if it's a weekday and a conference, or something like that. So that did get a little trying. And so that's where I just kind of had to be like real, like, hey, I'm doing luckily also too, the two companies I worked at have volunteer time off. So then that would be kind of the maneuver I would take. Like, hey, I'm using VTO for the first half of the day. I'm volunteering, which technically I was, I'm volunteering at Sisters in Sales, and
Yes.
I'm my volunteering was moderating, that panel, et cetera, et cetera. And then the Black Professionals Network thing, I was back in front of my computer probably by like one or two, like, hey, I'm using VTO, I'm volunteering at this position. And that's kind of how I utilize it because it did get a little tricky when leadership changed. And it's like, okay, I don't know how he's gonna take it and what's the vibe there. It does get rough. Virtual stuff, I feel like evening stuff, of course, is easier. Then when it comes to like using your company name like in your title, that's just where it gets tricky depending on their rules. And so like at Salesforce, I didn't really come into much issue with it, surprisingly. Now at Adobe, we'll have to see. I know even like for you, Kim, like sometimes you wouldn't use, your previous company at the time. Like it would just be your name and then like more of your
Whatever you say. Yeah.
entrepreneur status. Yeah. And then for me, I think when I did the Black Professionals Network one, I just had them put account executive. Like I didn't have the company on there, especially because of the topic too. Sometimes when it depends on the topic, it's like where you work and sometimes even your role at the time may not even matter. So like, just so they won't be like, oh, why are you speaking technically on behalf of us is where it gets a little weird. But there's definitely channels of those in corporate America, channels and avenues to like know what that information is, and then even submit requests if you want to say, "Oh no, I work here," because that gives me even more validity in that conversation. To put in a request and just let them know, "Hey, I'm not talking about what we sell, what our product is, or whatever. I'm just talking on behalf of professionals in this industry and would like to say that I work here. Is that okay?" And normally it's a quick process depending on who you work for to get that approved.
And we have a whole module on like protecting your platform because
Mhm.
I know for me, I've worked at very large historic organizations. So
Mhm.
co-branding was not allowed, period. You could not do it
Mhm.
in any way, shape, or form. So that's why you look at all
Mhm.
my past stuff, you'll always see it's like, nope, I'm Kimberly Brown. I've worked at some of the nation's top universities, and I was a
Mhm.
global HR director in a Fortune 100 company in financial services. And that is all I would
Yeah.
say. It was really all
Mhm.
about my company, Manifest Yourself, now Brown Leadership.
Yeah.
But I do think in tech, and some of the companies like at Salesforce, like Adobe, like I feel like they are more lenient in
Mhm.
allowing you to co-brand, but there are ways to get around like the same way you did, like account executive. Like you don't need to know all the things. I'm account executive in tech. Like
Mhm.
it gives validity,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing like sisters and sales and things like that. One of the things you
Yeah.
touched on that I'd love to kind of go back to was kind of like valuing. It sounds like you kind of value your speaking engagements and I'm like, okay, this is I can do this one. This one is more like worth my time. This one is not worth my time. This
Mhm.
is like really brand building. This is me kind of like volunteering. In the
Mhm.
visibility shift, we have a good mix of folks. So we have folks who work full time and they are speaking for fun to build their brand. We have folks who
Mhm.
work full time but have like a growing side hustle
Mhm.
that they are slowly but surely like increasing their income so they can do it full time. And we have full time entrepreneurs. So we
Okay.
have like the gamut of how people are speaking. So how do you decide what you are going to pitch to speak at and what engagements you will accept when folks reach
Mhm.
out to you?
Yeah, so things I would pitch to speak at has to one align with my brand or the brand I'm trying to build and kind of like what ROI I see out of it. So like especially when it comes to conference speaking and stuff like that. Like depending on the type of conference, the normal attendee status, like, okay, me being here, because like to your point, 9 times out of the time, that's gonna be free, right?
Mhm.
So the pitching, when you're pitching yourself sometimes, it's like, what am I gonna get out of it outside of a free conference, pass, right?
What is the
Like,
ROI you're looking for?
yeah, what is that ROI I'm looking for? So whether that's the type of attendees there, like what kind of networking I can get done, what kind of additional speaking engagements can I get out of this? Like, what is a persona in the room? I think is like huge in my opinion. And then when it came to things for me to accept, it just really had to align because especially when I worked at Salesforce, like I would get questions, things to like come like not pitch Salesforce, but like, oh, can you demo this or demo that? And it's like those things that even if I did it, that takes more process, right? Like, what am I getting out of this? Like, I'm gonna have to go through legal and like, can I present on it? Can I, da da da. And so those kind of were shifty. And then also too, I really think like purpose is important because there's a lot going on, right? It's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of topics, and a lot of people are doing things to check a box. A lot of people are doing things with intentionality. And it's really kind of understanding like what is the purpose of this speaking engagement? What are we trying to get out of it? How do we want the audience to feel? And then really kind of understanding what those logistics are because yes, I could say yes to everything. Like, oh, this aligns with me. Yes, this is the topic, but depending on like what the purpose is and the value add that that specific vendor or curator is doing, like does that match with me, right? Does that align with me and who I am? And I think that's really really huge because I've had friends that have gone on stages and been like, why the hell was I like how did I get here? Like this is not what I thought it was. So I think really doing our own research, right, like is really important because I've gotten stuff in my email and then I've looked up who they are or what they do and like some of it is like, is this even legit? Or like what is this? And again, how would that perceive how will I come off? Like, well, I come off as careless? Will I come off as someone that's again checking a box and not really doing it for my main reason? Yes, we want to monetize. Yes, we want to expand our brand, but like I really do want to impact others and have like a positive impact and positive alignment and not just be doing it because somebody asked me to, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and I love how you kinda, like, wrap that, like, really understanding what your brand is, understand, like,
Hmm.
why you're on stage, why is it important to you, and how it
Hmm.
impacts you, and I think when you work, in a 9 to 5 and you're building your speaker career, you have the pressure of, "Does this align with your brand?" and the pressure of, "Does this align with my company?"
Yeah.
Because it
And
both
I'm there
sides have that
now.
can impact you.
Yeah, I'm there now. I'm what 3 months in, not even starting month 3. And so like I haven't done no speaking. I haven't even honestly put time into it over the past like 3 or 4 months because I've just been trying to figure out the lay of the land.
Mhm.
Here, what does that look like? What is the avenues internally, right? Like, because that also helps make it softer when you're doing it externally as well. But just really kind of understanding what that looks like here. So that way I don't, put, step on my own toe or something like that, and just really all the rules. But it seems as though it's going to be really good. But I'm like, okay, let me focus on the new job, get my footing, because that's another thing too. Perception in corporate America, right? Like you just started hearing you're posting all these speaking engagements because like we got to post the speaking engagements because that's our brand, right? We may be strategic on when we post them, but like then
They
it's
need to
also
be
too like you
posted.
just started. I need you to be learning how to do your job, right? So that's also another thing I'm maneuvering through is like let me get locked in, make sure I know what the hell I'm doing first, and then kind of start giving back to me and kind of just maneuvering that balance as well.
Now, that's the perfect explanation of navigating politics. What does
Mhm.
it look like if you start a new job and you're doing all these things outside? So it sounds like you're building a strategy of like, let me understand the landscape here. Let me
Mhm.
speak here. Let me
Mhm.
build trust because I do think that companies are more likely to advocate and allow you to speak externally when they know that you do a great job. So if they've
Right.
seen you do it in house at the organization, like, "Oh,
Absolutely.
she navigated that panel just fine," or, "Oh, she navigated this perfectly." Like, that it would be fine if she actually was outside. She doesn't speak crazy here, she won't speak crazy out there. So that's a really
Mhm.
great strategy of slowly but surely kind of building externally.
Yeah,
When you think
absolutely.
about your own speaking career, what is your dream speaking engagement? Where would you like to be?
Dream speaking engagement. Oh, Cam, that's a hard one. I've never actually thought about that. That's
Yeah.
such a good question. I feel like you just gave me homework. Um,
Yes,
but good
yes.
homework, but good homework because I've been thinking big. I really sincerely see myself as a speaker. It's so crazy that you asked me that because I was at a wedding this week of my best friends and someone asked me, how was the new job going? Oh, it's going great. Da, da, da. And then my best friend like hypes me up. She's like, no, this happened at her job and she just started and da 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 da. And she was like, but it's okay because somebody's like, oh, you're gonna be a VP somewhere. Like we see it. Like we're gonna look up and you're gonna be this huge VP. And I'm like, really? Like you see that for me? And then my best friend was like, no, I see her as speaking is going to be like her main job. And she's gonna be able to speak here, speak there, speak whatever, and just really like fulfilling her purpose. And I was very shocked that she said that because we've never really kind of talked about that like that. Like they know I do it, but it's not something that we've really like delved into. And so even from her saying that has had my mind just expanding a little bit because sometimes we can limit ourselves and we're just trying to get through the now, right? And so that plus you asking me that, I wish I had an answer off the top. I don't want to give you
It's
guys
okay.
any just randomness, but I something I really want to think about. Like, what is my dream speaking engagement? Like, I would love to do a TED talk, like
Mm.
100% do a TED talk. I know that for a fact, but I feel like this bigger. So I'm gonna think on that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that definitely is homework. I like to give homework when I talk to
I
folks. Like,
love
okay.
that. That was a great question.
Like, because I think it's important. I was talking to, I had a girlfriend of mine come over yesterday and we
Hmm.
worked together like all day yesterday.
Hmm.
And there's a business venture that I'm thinking about going after. And I
Hmm.
have, we a commercial like space that I want to
Okay.
purchase. And
Ooh.
I have the pamphlet, like I have it right over here. She's like, you need to
Hmm.
put it into a God box. And I was like, girl, like, what
Hmm.
is a God box? And she explained how she has a box, she calls it the God box, where she
Hmm.
will put things intentionally in this box and she'll put, like, okay, God, I want you, if this is for me, allow it to happen. And she's like, you close the box, you put it in there, and you continue to do good work, you continue to take actions, you continue to do all these beautiful things in your life. But like you kind of intentionally manifest. And like my old company was called Manifest Yourself because I believe in the art of manifestation. But I always tell folks
Yeah.
manifestation is the combination of you like putting it out in the world of like, I want to do this
Hmm.
thing, but then taking good action and showing up appropriately so that when
Yeah.
it finds you working because I believe that that is when the two things happen. And this God
Mhm.
box there is like, oh, I need to go get me a box. I have a box I used to use for like a vending thing. I
I'm
of course
literally
they
thinking right now, like, do I have a box with a top? I have all the cute little open cubbies.
yes.
Like, right here, little open cubby, but I'm like, no, I want a cute box.
Exactly. I have one for a vending table that has like the magnetic close and it's like black
Oh,
and shiny.
yes.
It's folded up somewhere. And I was like, I need to go get that. I'm gonna put it in the God box. I have a future journal. So I use one of those, like I have it right here, one of these like journal ecosystems with like multiple journals inside. And the
Oh.
last journal, yeah, the last journal is a future journal where I write about the things that I want to have, the things I want to do, the people I want to know, everything.
Mhm.
Like I've outlined my entire next book tour in here.
I love
Different
that.
relationships and people I want to meet, people I want to be able to consider mentors or friends. I write everything in that. So I
Mhm.
think I'm going to take that future journal and I'm going to put this commercial space in the God box. And I encourage you to do that when you determine what your next, like what the thing is, when it is, because I believe as
Yeah.
speakers, we have moments that it kind of shifts your perception of what is possible.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to have those moments, like understand, okay, what is that next moment for me? And then when you have that, like, what is the next one? Not that you don't
Mhm.
celebrate, you got to celebrate, but what is like the next thing that is like, oh,
Yeah.
I did that. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
did that. I've had a few of those,
I
and you
love
get off
that.
stage and you're just like, you know what? I love to sit at the bar in the hotel in whatever city I'm in, grab a mojito, grab some truffle fries, normally a Caesar salad with salmon cooked through
Come
at the
on, girl
bar
meal.
by myself. And I'm just like, girl, yeah, you did that. And I allow myself to like
Yes.
celebrate in that moment when those moments happen.
I love it. Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm already thinking like as soon as we got off this phone, I'm about to go find my God box.
Yes,
'Cause I do have
yes.
my journal. So I turned my vision board this year was a journal actually.
Okay.
So I customized the journal and then the first couple pages is like the original paste,
Yeah.
doing the pictures and all of that. And then I did three categories. I wish it was right here. I did adventure, travel and adventure. I think work and abundance is one, and then like relationships, self-care, etc. And they all have their own goals. And then they have maybe about 100, 200 pages behind each one. And then I journal around those different topics or free form. So trying to do better with that and really with the manifestation piece and really just speaking things over our life. I feel like there's so much going on in the world and like our voices are needed. It's just really finding that time and finding the confidence and the ambition to just be like, okay, I'm going to make my voice heard, and how am I going to do that? So,
I love that. So I have another question before we open it up to all of the folks on the call
okay.
today. I want to ask about how you develop like your workshop and your speaking content, like the panels, because I feel like everybody has a process
Yeah.
of how they structure their talks and how they build it out. And I have one more question
Mhm.
after that I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
But first, tell me about like how do you go about content development for your talks?
Mhm. Yeah, so if panels, we could do they both probably about the same. So panels or just a talk, like workshop, teaching moment. First with the topic, right? So I take the topic and I'm like a fact finder type of thing. So I'm more kind of like looking into like the basis of this. So this topic, origination, what are some like key statistics, like things of that nature, going through my research phase. Then when it comes to like creating my content, I kind of start off with like my flow. So like how would I tell a story? Being in sales, I'm a storyteller.
Mhm.
And then my performance arts background, storyteller from that as well. So really kind of understanding like if I was listening to myself, whether that's workshop or panel, what would land with me? What would I identify with? What would be something that could help me easily follow along, help me be able to capture nuggets without even taking a note, right? I'll be able to maybe quote at least one or two things I've said or that person has said based on this type of flow, and then really kind of build that out. And then from there, start piecing my content together, right? Whether that's facts, whether that's lived experience. Oh, no, then lived experiences. So, how do I relate to this? What are the things that Jasmine has done or Jasmine has experienced or witnessed that can be actual examples, best practices, et cetera, that I can align to whether some of these panel questions that are being asked or the content I'm creating for some form of a workshop? Then take all of that to build the content, formulate the story. And then when it comes to kind of practicing and things, for me, I naturally make sure I put like my own nuances in it. And it may even be in my script or my notes because I am naturally kind of goofy. So, like, the way I talk or like jokes I may make on the side or like my banter and things of that nature, like, I always like to make sure like I'm in it and it doesn't seem very scripted or like, she did her homework and practiced her responses or made sure she knew what she was going to say here or practice each slide in the talk track to that. Like, I wanted to feel like me and not forget that. And so I do intentionally when I do dry runs or practices, if I call my mom and like ask me these panel questions, or something like that,
I
like I
love
try
that.
to make sure like I'm still me, like I'm still jokey jokey, or I'm still serious, but with a hint of real, like all those things, and it doesn't get so formulated. I think also too now with AI, like I try to use it, but to help me after I'm done, more of a thing. It's more of a building my framework, getting all the things in my brain, my skeleton, and then more of like helping me clean. Like, how can I be more concise here? How can I make this more of a story? Is it storytelling enough? Like, what should I add? Give me tidbits of things I could add, and it helps trigger, like, okay, girl, you have that story you can maybe throw in there, or, make sure you mention here, etc. And so that's normally how I do it. And then now I have been for workshops, making sure I'm making branded content that's a leave behind. So opposed to sharing a deck and give literally, even if it has my name on it, I'm again with the world now, you could take all of it off and you'd have all my content. Opposed to sharing a deck, more sharing a one pager leave behind that has key points and things to take away from that to still have something to reference after, still be able to utilize, but not giving like all of, my intellectual property. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I love that. So my final question for you, and then before I open
Mhm.
it up to the group, I would love for you to talk about what is your like rehearsal process before you get on stage, if you have one. Like, do you have a
Okay.
routine? How do you
Mhm.
go about that? And I'd also love to know, are you a scripted speaker
Mhm.
or do you use slides, no slides? How do you go about it?
Okay. Panels, I practice maybe once.
Okay.
I dry run maybe once, either with somebody or myself. Ask the
Mhm,
questions. Once I have my notes, kind of like, okay, what would I want to mention? Practice it, done. Panels, situations like that, I really like it to be as like organic as possible.
mhm,
Like, you're asking me to talk about this. I validate that I do know what I'm talking about before I get on stage, of course, and then like try to really flow it there. Because panels too, like sometimes you may piggyback on a question that's not even for you, or someone may ask you something else. Like, you just have to just know more of the general formality of it, or fireside chat similar to this. Like, okay, I know what the topic is, and
mhm.
then be able to make it flow.
'Cause I didn't
For
give you any questions either, because I never
none
give
way,
questions.
guys, facts. because the fact that she asked me what's my dream speaker, I'm like, girl, that would have been a good one to give me before because I have no idea. But but no, I love that. I love that because it's organic and you're really getting the real from that person, whatever that is. And you can get the gaps, right? Because I may uncover a gap. Like I don't know what my, favorite speaking engagement or most high what my dream speaking engagement is, et cetera. But yeah, that's what I do for panels. If it's like a presentation or a workshop or something like that, I do practice. So I'm not so scripted, yes, ish. So I
Mm,
do build a talk track out. So I am
okay.
a talk track girly. It's in my notes on the slide. And so if it's in person though, I'm not reading my talk track. If it's virtual, I may have it up, but I deviate all the time. So it's really
Okay.
more of a guide for me. So I won't say super scripted, but definitely I do a talk track because I want to know like, okay, my storyline, my flow. I think it's very important on like the pause, the reflect, the check in. Like, I think those little things are very important to start to script yourself with because you would start to do it naturally, but to make sure you're not just like running through anything. And so I do that. But then I'm always, by the time I present, like I've read the talk track, done everything so many times that I'm more just, I know what I'm talking about. I know what's going on. I may be referencing it for if there's a specific example, statistic, question I want to pose. It's more, I'm utilizing it more for that than the actual talk track that's there.
And when you say talk track, I'm assuming you mean like bullet points on each slide.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, hi, welcome, I'm Jasmine
Yeah.
Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
No, 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 no. Yeah. Bullet
there's like,
points.
okay, this
Yeah,
story,
bullet
that
points on
story.
each slide.
Yeah.
Only time I've ever done like a strict script and again still deviating is if I know I'm timed in like interviews actually. That's where I'm more like strict with my talk
Mhm.
track and everything because I'm like I got to make sure I hit these points. This is what they're looking for, so on and so forth. So it may be a little bit more sentency there, but when it's me workshop presentation, things of that, it's more bullet points. And 9 times out of 10, if I made the slides, then like I know it's on there because I made it. So I don't even really need to look at the talk track for real. It's again more cues I might be using it for.
Absolutely.
But
I
I
always
have
tell
not done
folks,
like a keynote yet though. So
okay.
that's where I don't know what I need a cue card. I don't know. But I want a teleprompter. I don't know. So that may change. The
It is
rehearsal process
keynoting is
may change.
different. Keynoting is
Yeah.
different, and a lot of people in the visibility shift are doing more workshops versus
Okay.
keynotes.
Okay.
So I think that that really tracks when you're developing content and
Mhm.
you are teaching the content and the goal, like workshops. I tell people, like, I think we forget that like work happens in the workshop. Like the transformation is supposed to happen in the workshop. So
Workshop.
it needs to
Yeah.
be more fluid. There needs to be some
Mhm.
storytelling, but a lot
Mhm.
of it is making sure you're building rapport with the audience. You are teaching the things so they can walk away transformed versus
Mhm.
keynotes is more of like, how can I give them an aha moment and give
Right.
them an experience of
Right.
me as a keynote, but there may not be as much interaction. It's a much more performative type of
Mhm. Mhm.
experience. So I would
Yeah.
love for you to kind of wrap it in because I think that for everybody in the visibility shift, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a side hustle with a full-time job, or whether you're at a full-time job and speak a little bit, professional organizations can do so much. How would you say that being a active member of NSN or
Mhm.
any other professional org, and then now serving on the board has helped you with your speaking?
Yeah, I would say it's helped me with my speaking. One, getting a diverse outlook on how other professionals in my industry are doing things. And that's speaking included. You kind of find out who's speaking, right, within your org and going to conferences, all the chapters. You're having these intimate webinars and workshops, and it's really unlocking, like, oh, that's the president of so and so, or that's I met her at whatever, and she's the speaker for this. And so that really, that honestly opened my eyes. Well, like, I could do that, right? Like, I could speak on what I know how to do at the time, best practices, etc. I think also too, it put me in a position to speak as well. So my first ever conference I spoke at was the NSN conference. I spoke on their behalf. I was on the conference committee. And so when you're on the conference committee, they have you like doing the workshop. So you're like introducing the speakers, doing the minutes, flow in the room. You might be a panel moderator. You might be on the main stage introducing like this year's Taraji P. Henson. You might be the person introducing her. Like so, slowly starts to give you that awareness. And then when I was working for Salesforce and Granger, I had two opportunities in both of those spaces to speak on panels that they were giving on their behalf at that conference. So then that also put me in different, perspectives. It was a twofold for the professional organization and for my job. And then that also, again, started to catapult me into other professional organizations I didn't even know about, which was Sisters in Sales. I didn't know they existed until someone reached out to me on behalf and I said, "Oh, you're in tech. We're having a tech focus. Would you like to speak?" And so those things are huge. And then also, too, just like in your career, the networking, putting you in the right spaces. I mean, all the jobs I've had are because of connections and alignments I've made through professional organizations and BRGs or ERGs, depending on what your company calls them. So, I mean, I think it's huge. It's great for your own development, but so great for you to impact others, and also be able to network and, maneuver in different spaces you probably don't even know existed because all these people are just different versions of you doing different things. Like everyone's doing a million things. So, great, great, great thing to do. And definitely look into things that you feel like align to you for sure.
I love that. I love that. And I think that I love ending on that note because I think that professional organizations, they're great when you want to move up in your career and do the things. But when you're thinking about growing your speaker career, when you are an active member of an org and you are on the board, you naturally get to help with programming and you can naturally insert yourself to do certain
Mhm.
things in a way that you couldn't have. And it allows you, when you are a member of an org, it gives you more access to some of these opportunities. I know for me, the company that has paid me the most money has come through being a part of a professional organization and speaking and doing teaching workshops there. I got a client from there and they've been a client since 2019. So I know
Wow.
that we are at the top of the hour. So I just want to say, Jasmine Garrett, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming into the visibility shift and
Thank
speaking
you
with
for
my
having
clients. You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
me.
We will let you go. This will be repurposed. The questions are going to just stay with the TVS community, but we'll
Okay.
be repurposing this as a podcast. So the podcast will go out. We just want to thank you for your time. And where can folks stay connected with you?
Yes, so LinkedIn, Jasmine Garrett. I think I still have a cloud next to my name. I'm not sure, but Jasmine Garrett on LinkedIn, and then Instagram. It's a mix of personal business. It's just me. I'm just always me. It's just underscore Jazzy. So JAZZYIE, and so you
Perfect.
can connect with me. My speaker graphic is in my website thing on my LinkedIn. So if you know somebody that knows somebody, call me.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Everyone have
Thanks,
a fabulous
guys.
day. See you soon.
Bye, guys.